Hello, hello, and thank you guys so much for clicking on. I have the wonderful privilege of having Cayley Elaine on the channel with me today. Everyone say hi to Kaylee. That's what I do as a teacher. Like when we have like guests and visitors come in, I'm like, everyone say hi. Unless you've been living under a rock, you probably know who Kaylee is at this point. But Kaylee, first of all, thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thanks for having me on again. Always a pleasure.
Yes. We did have Kaylee on. Was it like a little over a year and a half ago at this point?
Has it been that long?
I
It
think
might have
yeah.
been.
I remember I was like on a conference with students and I was,
Yeah.
we did it in my hotel room and the footage was awful. It was like super grainy and whatever, but you were dropping some like fire tips and like that video actually did really well for me. And it's because of you and the things that you were sharing. But yes, I wanted to have you on again because I have a lot of questions for you. A lot has happened since that year and a half ago that we
Yeah.
talked. But in case, like I said, people don't know who you are for some strange, odd reason, can you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what it is that you do. Yeah, just tell us who Cayley Elaine is.
Yeah. My name's Kaylee. It's Cayley Elaine on YouTube. I started reselling, I think it was like 2016. And I was working like a crazy corporate job, working like 60, 80-hour weeks nonstop. Started reselling as a side gig, and it eventually grew into wanting to do it full time. So I quit my job and started full time reselling. And yeah, I've just been building it up ever since then. I think I went full time at the end of 2019. So I've been at the full time for a few years now. And eventually that led to me wanting to share what I do with other people and trying to help other people resell. And that's why I'm on YouTube.
Yes. Can you talk a little bit more specifically about what your reselling business looks like now? Because I know we can call it full time and that is different for everyone, right? So some people are full time, but they're just doing it by themselves. I know that's not your case. Can you talk a little bit more about what your full time reselling business looks like?
Yeah, so when I started full-time reselling, I was doing it by myself for a good while. Over the years, I have hired out a lot of tasks. Started small with just contractors taking pictures. At now, I currently have 4 employees. 3 are full-time, 1 is part-time, and they help me in my reselling business. And the idea with that was to basically have them take over all the tasks that I was doing within reselling, besides sourcing, because I love sourcing. And just having them, yeah, do the day-to-day stuff, the listing, the shipping, so that I could step away and teach other people online. So I
Mhm.
am working full-time hours, but most of my time is now spent doing sourcing and helping other resellers.
Yeah. Which, in order to be able to do that, you have to know so much about reselling itself to be able to teach others how to do that efficiently. And I know, like you said, you were doing the reselling thing. You've migrated over to also teaching people how to do reselling on places like YouTube. I know you're also on Instagram, and you also have this really cool new venture that we'll get into a lot more probably towards the end of the video. But do you want to share a little bit about Resellers Edge University?
Yeah, just this January, so January 2024, beginning of the year, I and a group of other people, it's actually 4 of us in total. It's myself, it's Nikki, and then Trash Pandas, which are 2 people. And collectively, we started a resellers all-encompassing mentorship group. And we can go into details later if you want, but that's essentially what it is. My viewers had been asking me for a long time for something like that.
Mhm.
And I had been thinking about doing it for a while and actually created up until the point of launching it. And then another group of resellers reached out to me and said, "Hey, you want to do this together?" And that's how that started.
Amazing. Yeah, and we'll dive into that a little bit, maybe more towards the end, just like specifics on what it entails and all of that. Because what I want to do is kind of spend the first part of this interview just kind of showing like how good Kaylee is and how much she knows. And I think by the end of it, you'll be like, okay, I need someone to hold my hand through this. And this, I think, will prove to you that she's your girl. Like she's the one that you want holding your hand. So, okay, you run a successful reselling business across multiple platforms. I know you're not just, on eBay, you're not just on Poshmark. You have a setup. You have like a warehouse, correct?
Yeah, we lease an office space. It's
Okay.
like half office, half warehouse. It's
Mhm.
carpeted, so I don't know that we can call it a warehouse,
Yeah.
but yeah, currently have it's about 2,000 square feet of just pure open space.
Awesome. So you've got, yeah, this office warehouse space, you've got employees, and you even have, like we mentioned, this mentorship group, university course. It's a lot of things. Like you said, it's kind of all encompassing for resellers of all stages. So all of that being said, what would you say are kind of like the key pillars of your reselling business? And I guess we can talk specifically about reselling versus like, well, this is how I juggle all of the things. But when it comes to building a reselling business, what would you say are the pillars of yours?
Yeah. Well, I first want to say that I really appreciate everybody's support, and I love that everybody thinks I have like all this knowledge. But I did start out knowing nothing, and it's
Mhm.
taken a really long time to get to this point. And I made a lot of mistakes along the way, and I'm just like everybody else. I'm still making mistakes. So just throwing that out there. So with that, one of my pillars, especially in reselling, is just working on self improvement, testing stuff out, and being okay to
Mhm.
make mistakes. I really heavily rely on analytics in my reselling business
Mhm.
for that reason. And so I would say analytics, research the actual data is one big pillar of mine so that I can throw things against the wall, test them out, see if they work. Beyond that, I think another pillar is we really focus on high sell through rate, which I think
Mhm.
does go along with data, focusing on things moving quickly instead of having to sit on them. And let's see, never really thought about this question before. I just do it, and
Yeah. And I
pillars.
think we all just do it, and we don't really think about, like, "But what should I be focusing on to make it better?" And
Yeah.
you're right, like, you're not perfect, no one's perfect, everyone is in some stage of figuring it out and figuring out, like, "How do I get to the next level?" But I think one thing about you that stands out is that piece of you seem to be so analytical. There seems to be a reason behind why you do the things that you do, even if it is like, I'm testing this out, not knowing what the end results will be, but I'm testing it because it seems like a worthwhile thing to test, a worthwhile theory to, see what happens. And it's along those lines, I think that's why I have this question for you of like, what are the things to focus on? Because we can spend a lot of time doing a lot of nothing and be like, but I worked
Yeah.
so many hours versus it
Yeah.
seems like you've really honed in on, listen, we just got to focus on one, two, three. And I think you're already sharing a lot of, really great things. Like here's what I focus on. And that's how I've grown my business.
Yeah. I think I again it has taken me a very long time to kind of just narrow out exactly where the focus is and what we want to do. But I would say consistency is a big pillar of ours.
Hmm.
And then minimalizing everything.
Mhm.
That's been a huge focus of mine over the last couple years. A huge focus this year is maintaining that, but minimalizing everything, getting rid of all the steps that you can. Because when you have employees, you want things to be simple. And when you
Mhm.
run as many businesses as I do, you want things minimal for yourself as well. So definitely consistency and minimalism. I call it minimalistic reselling.
Yeah, which I think is probably very appealing to most people because while a lot of us find ourselves in the trap of doing a lot of things that don't actually help your bottom line, it's because we don't know how to minimize the number of tasks and stop touching things so many times. What are some tips that you have for people who are struggling with that? Struggling with figuring out how to streamline their business.
I think a lot of my strategies surrounding this came from my background in retail management and managing large teams, large businesses, and handling things on a mass scale. And so I think that that really helped me to narrow and faster, I guess, because there were so many moving parts. And taking that experience into my reselling business, when I was new, I did see a bunch of stuff like you're talking about, and I still do, coming at you. You're learning, you're watching tons of YouTube videos. Like,
Mhm.
I feel like it was a full-time job for me just to watch reselling videos and just learn. But I quickly learned that everyone is doing something different, and I
Mhm.
really had to figure out what worked for me. So, if I were to give somebody advice on just streamlining and narrowing in, it would be to kind of cut out all of the noise and sit down, focus on what your actual goals are. What do you want to get out of reselling? Where do you want to take it? Are you even capable of doing some of the tactics that other resellers are doing? Do you have the
Mm.
resources available?
Mhm.
Sit down and figure out what's actually going to work for you and what you want, and put blinders on to everything else. One thing we recommend doing as far as just minimalizing stuff is getting just literally a sheet of paper and a pen and writing down every single step that you do for whatever process. So if it's taking pictures, actually writing down, like, I grab the tote from whatever room, I bring it into this room, I hang up every single piece, like I lint roll, I steam, and like going through every single detailed step. And once you're done, you've got it all on paper, and just looking at that and asking yourself what's actually necessary,
Mhm.
what actually makes sales, and what stuff could I actually cross out. And I have done that every single year, and every year I think that there's not going to be something I'm able to cross out, and every single year we narrow it down more. And so that would be a big tip. Just find out what works for you, and do that process of figuring out what you can cut out and what you actually need.
Can I ask you for some specific examples of the types of
Yeah.
things that you've cut out of procedures?
Yeah. So I'll give you a very minuscule example, and then I'll give you one that made like a huge impact to our
Mm.
business. But when I first started doing this process, one of the minuscule things that I noticed, was every single time we would take a photo of an item and move on to the next item, we were having to turn the scale back on, because at the time I had a battery powered scale
Mhm.
that would automatically shut off after, like, I think it was like, I don't know, 20 seconds or something
Mhm.
like that. And we weren't very fast at taking pictures back then.
Mhm.
And so I would have to take a couple seconds to turn it back on and, zero it out every single time. And so by doing that process of writing everything down, I was like, why is this step here?
Yeah,
Like, I can cut that out, right? So all we had to do, it came with a cord, is I figured out you could plug the cord in and it
yeah.
doesn't turn off, which seems so like small and tiny, but if you're listing, I don't know, 20 items a day, it takes you a couple seconds, like it all adds up over
Mhm.
time, even the seconds. So that would be something small. One of the bigger things that we've done over the past year is we decided to stop using all forms of lighting, when taking photos. So we don't have umbrella lights, we don't have ring lights anymore, we don't do background removal. I tested out every single method, and I realized that snapping a picture on a painted white wall with a command strip on the wall, um, it looked better. It looked better than all that other stuff.
Mhm.
And it also eliminated having to run into those lights to the side of you and having to work around them. So
Mhm.
that would be a big example of something that we've cut out. I have a ton of examples if you want more.
No, that's great because I think for me, when I hear you say, write down step by step what it is that you do, I'm like, okay, I could do that. I don't know if I have like the capacity or the ability because I'm so close to my own business to read it and be like, well, that can go, can't it? But I think also, like you said, if you're literally writing down and turn on scale and to be able
Yes.
to say like, but why am I turning it on over and over again? Like, why doesn't it just stay on? Like you said, I think people need to give themselves a little bit more credit than maybe what they do. And I'm speaking to myself right now because I think, generally speaking, I just think I'm like a big dum dum. But yeah, just kind of trying to look at it a little bit more objectively, or even passing that off to someone who maybe doesn't resell and being like, look at this. Tell me
Yeah.
what stands out as far as like, where am I wasting my time? And maybe someone who isn't as close to your business can look at that and be like, why do you exit the room every time to get this or that or whatever, It sounds so simple, the active write down every single task that you do when it comes to this component of your business. But that simple task may, like you said, result in a larger pocket of time later on when you add up all the little times that you're wasting.
Yeah, and I love that tip that you said about handing that paper over to somebody else. Nikki, even though she's obviously very close to the business, she's my e-commerce manager, handles like everything at the office. We'll often do that with each other. We'll hand each other stuff and we'll say, what are you seeing that I'm not seeing? I think that's a great strategy.
Yeah. Like my husband will often walk in on me working on something and he'll watch for a little bit and be like, why are you doing it like that? Like, or why are you doing all of that? Like you were talking about with pictures and, people feel like you got to invest in all the lights and stuff, but he'd be like, why are you doing X, Y, and Z? Like, it just seems like it's taking up so much time and energy. And he's always throwing around the term ROI. He's like, your ROI on this is not very good. And I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know the business. But there's so much truth to what he's saying because he's not as close to it as I am. He's not so married to like the way that I do things. So I like that idea of like taking a more objective look at it. You brought up Nikki, and if I remember correctly, is she the one, like I know in past videos, you have people come thrift with you. Is she one of those people? I can't remember. She is.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
remember watching in a video of yours, you had shared, or maybe it was just when you and I had spoken before, about how at first it was really hard for you to relinquish the task of sourcing, because that is probably the part that you enjoy the most, but that you had trained people up so well, even when it comes to sourcing, that you were able to trust them to go out and find the kinds of pieces that you want to list. And again, being able to teach someone something means that you yourself are probably really good at it. Can you share with us even what you were sharing about sell-through rate being so important to you? Just what are you looking for when you're sourcing? What kinds of things are you focused on versus what you're leaving behind? Just kind of just sourcing strategies in general.
Yeah, I will say that since we did the last interview, a ton has changed now that we're talking about it and I'm thinking about it, because now we have also introduced wholesaling.
Yes,
So
I
we're
saw
we're
that.
purchasing from people all over the nation, and I wouldn't say that I have to teach wholesalers like how to source, but we are offering tips, and we do have to be very clear with them as well
Mhm.
about what we're looking for. So I feel like even more so now we're doing it on such a mass scale as far
Yes.
as sharing exactly what we're looking for. But the main things that we are looking for when we're sourcing, and this is really any place, it doesn't matter if it's with a wholesaler, it doesn't matter if I'm at the bins, it doesn't matter if I'm walking into a thrift store. We are looking for high sell through rate items, which means we are searching every single item on a platform. We choose eBay because they have easy data to look at,
Mhm.
easy methods of checking these. But we search every single item. We're extremely detailed when we search that, and then we filter to the solds. We compare how many are available versus how many are sold, and that's how we get that sell-through rate. We have something that we like to call a sourcing constitution, which is something you don't falter from. Essentially, you decide how much you're going to spend to make however much. Ours is usually 5 into 25, and then we branch out from there. And then beyond that, something that I think is really unique to our sourcing method that we've been sharing with the reseller community, that people have taken away and implemented in their business and is really working for them if they're capable of doing it at the thrift stores in their area, is focusing on newer items only, meaning the
Mhm.
items that are first coming out onto the
Mhm.
sales floor, and trying your best, if you can, to ignore the stale items on
Mhm.
the sales floor. And we do that by figuring out basically the dating systems, the color systems
Mhm.
at the thrift stores that we go to, making really good relationships with the thrift stores, so that we can ask if we don't know, and then just again putting those blinders on really to what we want, and that's how we navigate a thrift store.
That's awesome. And I know, like, one of the things I feel like you're known for and you get tagged for a lot, like on Instagram, for example, is Like, for example, there's that one Old Navy shirt that Taylor Swift wore on the cover of, I don't remember what album. I'm not really a true Swiftie.
I'm not either.
Yeah. But most people have been trained to think Old Navy is not worth picking up. And it's just a blanket statement. Or like, I know another brand that you like to kind of evangelize about, if you will, is, oh no, I can't remember. It's that Target one, something Knox.
Knox Rose, that one I did. That one used to be my bae. That one has
Yeah.
actually gone downhill recently. So
Yeah.
if you're
Too many
listening
people learned
today,
about it.
yeah, if you're listening today, that one's not so much a bolo anymore.
Yeah. But it was like you would share about the success that you were having with these very accessible brands. Resellers want to complain, and I'm included in this, about like, well, I just don't get good stuff at my thrift store. But you kind of flipped the script when you were like, you don't have to find Chanel or, Rothy's all the time or whatever. Like, you were like, you can make good money with certain Old Navy pieces or certain pieces by, Target brands and stuff. How did you figure that out, in the sense of everyone is staying away from, Walmart, Target, but you were kind of able to hone in on, but you know what? There's like a few pieces by these brands that are worth looking into and keeping your eye out for.
First of all, I love being titled the Old Navy Queen, because it's just like, honestly, I was sharing this in the group the other day. I was like, it is seriously like a personal win for me
Yeah.
when somebody that we've shared this with can sell Old Navy. I mean, we have
Yes.
tons of people in the group selling Old Navy and sharing their sales, and they're selling pre-owned items for like 30 to 40 bucks. And I'm
Yeah.
like, mind blown. Okay.
Yes.
So yes, I love finding little niche pockets like that. Really, the way that came about was just, honestly, I was helping answer questions on YouTube comments, talking to resellers in person and helping to coach them. And one of the frequent things that got brought up, which you mentioned, a lot of resellers will say, I just can't find
Yeah.
those same brands that you're talking about in the
Mhm.
videos. And they live in a small town or whatever.
Mhm.
I also live in a small town, by the way. A
Yeah.
lot of people forget that we have to drive at least an hour one way to
Mhm.
get to a good sourcing location.
Mhm.
And that's part of our strategy as well. But not a lot of people are willing to do that.
Mhm.
So I was finding myself trying to coach and help resellers who basically wanted to remain in their situation, but still be able to make money. And that's where the idea popped in my head. And I'm sure other resellers had covered this, but it was new to me at the time,
Mhm.
which was, why don't we just like go to the solds? Why don't we search whatever brand or brands you're frequently coming across? And why don't we set, the minimum
Mhm.
price to $25 or higher, and let's only study and figure out what's actually selling in these brands.
Mhm.
Um, and I did that one time. I don't even remember what brand I did it with originally. I did it one time and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I've been passing on like all of these items." I think I did an Under Armour one and I realized there were like little pockets of Under Armour. And I was like, "I've been passing on these all day long." And so the hunger to research bolos, especially in brands that a lot of people pass on,
Mhm.
and are so accessible, it was a really big driver for me to really go down this hole of research and constantly finding bolos. But I love those niche ones. Those are like, every time I find one, it's like, yes, personal win.
Absolutely. And I think what you shared is so, again, like, flips the script and to some degree. It's the idea of how you reverse engineer that, right? Like, I think a lot of times people think of looking up comps as like, I'm at the thrift store, I come across something, I'm going to look it up and see if it's worth anything. But what you did was you said, let's just look at what already sold, because that information is already there, and let's search by brand and let's see if there's something that keeps popping up. And with the example of like the Old Navy, it's like that kind of flannelly orange shirt that Taylor
Yeah.
Swift wears on one of her album covers. If you keep seeing that pop up and you keep seeing the name Taylor Swift in the title, it's like you start putting two and two together and you're like, oh my gosh, like, this is what you need to look for. The idea of doing that research before you go to the thrift store. So it's not just, hey, let me slug through these
Right.
racks and one by one, like, keep looking everything up. Because I think that's where a lot of new resellers also feel so overwhelmed. And they're like, I'm never going to figure out or learn what to pick up, but just look at the data that already exists, like you're sharing, just reverse engineer it. That's brilliant. Love it. Can you share really quickly too? This was a question I had regarding something that you said earlier. You were talking about how you get like wholesale from all over the country, and you guys do go out and source as well. How many pieces would you say your team is processing, let's say maybe on a weekly basis? Because I also want to give people an idea of just the scale of your business compared to maybe what they're dealing with.
Pulling out my calculator here. We are listing 35, or sorry, not 35. We're listing 40 items a day, which is actually less than what we were doing last year. We kind of scaled back a little bit as far as the amount and focused more on increasing average sale price to make up for that difference. So we're currently listing 40 a day, which this is probably going to go up soon, but 40 a day times, let's just say 30 days for the month. We are listing about 1,200 items active per day. We're actually probably doing more than that because we're scheduling ahead. Like whenever I have a full-time lister, they are listing 45 items a day. So that extra 5 carries over to a future day to get scheduled ahead, but about 1,200 items.
That's insane. I know last time that we talked, you kind of shared about you were like 2 weeks behind or something. Like you had a really cool like bin system at that time where it was like, we got these items in, they go here in this bin and they get photographed. And like, that's what's going to get listed in the next 2 weeks. I don't remember. It was something like that. So you're listing 1,200 a month. How many pieces are like cycling through though? Does that make sense? Like, are you getting 1,200 in and that's all that's getting listed? Or do you have a backlog of pieces that are waiting to get listed?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Ideally, I know a lot of people don't like the idea of a death pile, but I actually love the idea of a
Oh, I
death
love it
pile.
too. I love it.
Just because I can never like it just when you have employees and they're there consistently every day, like it just seems like I can't bring in enough inventory. So for a while we were about 2 weeks ahead on sourcing, but honestly, recently it's like as soon as it gets brought in, it's getting listed, which has honestly been kind of I wouldn't say scary, but like it's different for me. I'm
Yes.
used to being ahead on that. And I feel like we have a little bit of pressure on that right now. But right now, we're usually only a few days ahead. So basically, whatever we're bringing in right now, it's getting listed. So I can't get enough inventory in.
Yeah. Which is a great problem to have. I mean, it just shows again how efficient your business is running. You know, it's not in this constant state of catch up, but it's always like we are accomplishing the things that we want to accomplish. We're able to even work ahead of like that's amazing. But I get what you're saying. I think I would freak out if I didn't have a death pile. Mine is probably too big. Like I should probably send you some stuff, but it's too big, but it is. It's like comforting of like,
Yeah.
I have that to fall back on for sure. I guess like I do want to obviously speak with you about your newest venture. I don't know, you might have newer stuff than even this, but I feel like it's one of the newest things that you've done. Can you talk to us a little bit more about, and here's what I'll do too. I'm gonna put my little banner in. So it's Resellers Edge University. And as we talk about it, if you're like, I need to get in on this, like I need to try this out and see what it does for my business. But talk to us a little bit about, you already talked about how it came to be, but tell us what it encompasses, because it's a lot of things.
If you don't mind, I am going to go back a little bit about how this started, because I do think it's important for you to understand who runs the group for your audience watching.
Yeah.
And I guess why, Nikki and I decided to team up with these particular people. Because if you don't know them, they're amazing. Sean and Bethany are trash pandas, which were my first wholesaler. So that's how we met. We've had a great relationship for a year, and they reached out to me and they were like, hey, and we've kind of gotten to know each other a little bit. But they were like, we are constantly mentoring people where we live, and we're, in the future, we're wanting to do a group. We're thinking about getting this started this coming year. I think they reached out to me at like the end of November and they were hoping to start it in January. And I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for this.
Yeah.
But they were like, we are, and we can do it together. So we kind of talked about things. And one of the reasons that I decided to pair up with them, besides the fact that obviously 4 people are better than just myself,
Mm.
is they really bring a different expertise than I have. Nikki and I were focused on that high sell-through rate. We're focused on processes. We're focused on like grind it out, get it done, very business oriented. And Sean and Bethany were top sellers on Depop. On like Depop's pages, they
Mhm.
were boasted about being top sellers. So
Mhm.
I really liked bringing them on board, and I love having them now because, again, it's just kind of that yin and yang,
Yes.
where we're focused on processes and the numbers and, helping people get to their goals. They are incredible with keywords. They keep up with all the style aesthetics. And they just bring a different kind of expertise into it. They share stuff on wholesaling. We've actually built up a few people in our group to become wholesalers that have successful businesses now. So they just bring a different level to it. It's not just me. So if you're like, I'm not into the high sell-through rate, I'm not into that super grind, I'm more of a Depop girly. Like we have something to offer everybody, and we have a lot of knowledge between the 4 of us. So that's kind of how that started. As far as what we offer, we offer a ton of things, but I'm gonna try to minimize it down a little bit. But the main bit about what we offer is we offer live coaching calls. So we do 3 live Zoom calls. Anybody that's in the group can join, or you can just watch the replay. You don't have to get on.
So
Um,
when you said that, it sounded like you said life coaching, and I was
oh,
like, "I was not offered this." Like, I was like, "Wait a second," but you said live coaching.
live.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. I was like, "We need to have a conversation after this," but okay, keep
Yeah.
going.
It's kind of life coaching. Sometimes we get into some like mindset, lifestyle stuff.
Yes, yes.
But we're doing 3 times live coaching calls, and those are hosted by all 4 coaches. So
Mhm,
different days, different people. And that's an opportunity for anybody to jump on a Zoom with us in a group setting. We have a chat, you can unmute. We usually have a subject, and then at the end, we always have Q&A. And I love the live coaching calls, and I think this is where most of the value comes from, because if you're wanting like one-on-one coaching with one of us, it's not really something we can give people on YouTube, because you're forced to just work through the YouTube comments, and it's like, man,
mhm,
I wish I could help you so much more.
yeah,
But on those Zoom calls, like during the Q&A session, if somebody's like, hey, I don't understand where I'm going wrong in my photo process, we can literally say, okay, flip your camera around. We're going to put you on the screen, show us, your photo system. Let's talk through it. And it's just so much more hands-on and a more intimate setting, where we can work through things. We can pull up a spreadsheet. We can, type out those analytics, figure out what your average sale price is, how much you'll need to list to make your goals. Like, it's that, to me, is the best part of the group, are those live coaching calls. Beyond that, we also have a growing course, which are basically still videos. You can go in and open them up. And I say growing because when we originally created the course, we put a few videos in each module with the idea that we would get feedback from our group, and whatever the group wanted in the course modules, we would create videos for as we saw
mhm,
a need from the group. And then beyond that, we have the Facebook group,
mhm,
which is just building such a wonderful community.
mhm,
It's very active too. I know, Becky, you've seen it. I mean, people
mhm.
are posting like I honestly can't keep up with
Yeah,
it. There's a lot of people posting, a lot of like-minded resellers. It's not just me that'll help you; it's people in the group. We have a lot of people in our group that are very knowledgeable about certain things too. So they're very helpful. So those 3 things: live coaching calls, course, and then Facebook group. Beyond that, we have lots of other like little things. We do one-on-one coaching giveaways. We have a lot of documents that we
mhm,
share. One of those documents is the live bolo list, which gets updated by me and by Bethany and Sean. I can't speak for them, but for me, I'm updating it every single week. We're
mhm.
we're going to be at 600 bolos by
Mhm.
the end of this month. So that alone, I think, is why a lot of people join. Like, even if you're introverted, you don't want to look at the calls and stuff, like that alone is going to pay for your subscription. So it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of extras, but that's the
Yeah.
gist of it.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point. Like some people are like, listen, I'm not a course person. I'm not going to get through all the modules. Like I'm just not going to take the time to watch them. But for those people, maybe what is a little bit more valuable for them is that sense of community, is that place of being able to ask questions in the Facebook group or being able to interact with others within a Zoom call. That very much, I think sometimes people are like, well, why would I want to watch them coach a specific person on their photo setup? Like that doesn't help me. But as a choir teacher, I have seen, they call it, well, now I don't remember what it's called, which is embarrassing. It's like basically like a voice teacher will give someone a voice lesson in front of like a group of people. What is it called? I don't know, whatever. But they'll, give a voice lesson in front of a group of people. And even though they're just coaching this one person on like, this is how you sing better, I know every time I sit through one of those, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I am learning so much and I'm going to
Yeah.
apply so much of this to my own life. So even if you're like, why would I want to watch them coach this one person? There's so much value you can take from what advice you're giving to someone else and put towards your own business, or towards your own photo setup or something like that. So I like that, it's not just a course, but there's a lot of different ways for different types of people to grow and increase their knowledge. Like you said, if all they want is access to that BOLO list, like they'll
Yeah.
have that, but they'll also have the ability to do all of these other things, which I think does, like you said, make your offering, because I don't even know what to call it because it is so many things. It makes your offering unique from what a lot of other people have maybe created in the past.
Yeah, we really wanted to create it that way, so I'm glad that it does come off that way. I've been in some other when I was a newer reseller in some other groups, and no shade to any group either. Like
Mhm.
I learned a lot from some different groups, some I did not learn from. And I really wanted to take what I wasn't getting out of certain groups, but was taking from other groups,
Mhm.
and basically put it all into one. And I was that person, by the way. When I was in a group, I did not get on any live calls.
Yeah.
To be honest, like I probably didn't even watch 50% of the replays. Like I
Mhm.
didn't really post. I just kind of like to lurk in the background and just watch,
Yeah.
because most people won't believe this because I'm on YouTube, but I'm very introverted. I call
Mhm.
myself a forced extrovert, but I'm really super introverted. So I wanted to make it a place where really anybody could come on. It doesn't matter if you're doing it part time. We
Mhm.
have people who hadn't even started reselling who joined the course. So you could have just started, you could only want to do it as a side hustle, taking it all the way up to we have six-figure resellers in the group. It's really we want to make it for everybody.
Mhm.
And speaking to the live calls, like I think there is so much value in watching the replays, like you said, because first off, the beginning of every single live call, we do have like an instructional topic. Like,
Mhm.
for instance, some of the ones that I did recently, we did like an eBay and USPS seller protection, learning how you're protected under every circumstance
Mhm.
through those platforms. And then recently I did a Y2K deep dive, and we went through every single category of Y2K styles so that no one would ever miss one when they're at the thrift store.
Mhm.
But at the end of all those, we do the Q&A also. So really somebody who wants to get right to the point, they're going to
Yes.
have that in the beginning. And then those people who want to stick around for the Q&A, I think it's great because I love Q&As. There's a lot of questions that you don't think to ask, and when you hear somebody else say it, you're like,
Mhm.
why have I never asked that question,
Yeah.
or why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people are not only learning from us the coaches, but from other people as well.
And I think, one term that you keep bringing up too that I really like is that everything is living. Like even the course section is living and the live calls, there's opportunity for people to say, hey, I am so stuck on this aspect of my business. Can you please do a deep dive on that? Do a live call on that? And I think that's really cool too, is that it's very responsive to the needs of the people in the group at that time and at that moment, which just makes for a more, I can't think of like sophisticated words right now, but it's like a better
You don't need to. We get you.
and I'm like, there's a better word than the word better, but it just makes for a better experience for those who are involved because it's a lot more catered to their specific needs. I mean, I think similar to you, I have been a part of many Facebook groups. I have a group that I don't know why I made it. I don't have the time to tend to it the way that you
It's a
do.
lot.
Like, it is a lot. It's a lot. And someone asked me once when it was a bit more active, someone was like, "Do you want me to like be an admin?" And I was like, "I know. Like, I don't want to put that on anyone. Like, I no, like, let's just it'll fizzle out." And like, it's awful. It's like I had this responsibility and I just completely shirked it.
I can think of all kinds of ventures that I started that fizzled out.
Yeah. But yeah, I think like you were saying, the Facebook group is super active. You have really cool things that happen, not maybe on a daily basis, but there are like days where, it's, hey, share your solds or your package pictures, or,
Yeah.
hey, I'm going to put up a picture. I think it's one of the other people that does this, but I'm going to put a picture of an item up and you put what keywords you would use, in the listing of this. And again, it's kind of, as a teacher, I appreciate that you're letting people learn in so many different ways. For the people that want to just sit there and let you lecture at them and they can take notes, there's that opportunity. For someone
Yeah.
who wants to like, okay, give me a question and let me like write down the keywords, there's those opportunities. So it's really cool. Can you tell us how it's set up as far as like, is it a monthly thing that they pay? Is it a yearly subscription? Just talk us through that information a little bit.
Yeah, you also segued into something like you give me the perfect opportunity, which for anybody watching, Becky doesn't know this yet, or she might have seen it posted in the Facebook group, but I can announce it here. I haven't announced it on my channel yet. So you guys are first to hear it here on YouTube. But so with your subscription, it is a monthly subscription. You can cancel at any time. And it is $50 a month, unless you're using a discount code, which here on the screen, you can use Becky's code and get 50% off of your first month. We also have some annual subscriptions. If you're, you really want in it and you're going to use it, you'll get a little bit of a discount there too. I definitely think if you come in with the right attitude, like there is so much information, like your cup's going to overflow with information. So if you come in with the right attitude, there's no reason that you wouldn't make your money back and then a lot more. We have a ton of testimonials in the group of people doing just that. But you get with that $50 every single thing I just mentioned, everything, plus some extras that I didn't mention. And one thing that just started, which I am so excited about, is
I think I know what it is.
You do? Okay.
Yes.
We are partnering with List Perfectly, who reached out to us. And yeah, I've been a long-term partner with List Perfectly for a while. They're so supportive of not only me, but everybody in the reseller community. So I was very excited to partner with them. But now with your Resellers as subscription, you will also get your first month of List Perfectly for free. So when you join the group, you'll see the code to use and everything. So just more added value. I mean, just tons of stuff that you're going to get with that subscription.
That's awesome. And I can understand the argument for people who are like, that's a lot of money for me to fork over month after month. But like you said, it's for all those things. It's also for the people who care about this. It's also for that sense of community, that sense of like, I have people to do this alongside. I know that's really important to some people.
Yeah.
And I think you guys do a really good job too, across all the different things, whether it's Facebook, whether it's the live calls, whether it's, wherever. It is genuinely a safe space. And I think that's been kind of the most disheartening thing for me regarding a lot of like Facebook groups and stuff is a lot of times you just see a lot of, I don't know, like not the most pleasant behavior, people just being extremely rude to each other. And I just haven't seen that. Like it really genuinely feels like everyone wants everyone to win in the spaces that you've created, which I think makes for a more positive learning environment and for better resellers. It doesn't feel like people are in competition with one another. And it just, it genuinely feels like a really safe space. And like you said, with the information that you gain with that $50 a month, the point is you're making gains in your business because of that. And it's a tax write-off. I mean, you can,
so that's so true.
Yes. So I always have to remind myself, like when I'm being extremely stingy and not wanting to invest in myself or in my business. I'm like, it's a, I can claim it on my whatever. I don't know the lingo for tax stuff because I'm not good at that. But yeah.
Yeah, I think the only reason that people think it sounds expensive is just because whatever other groups decided to price theirs at, ours is higher.
Yeah.
And I think they kind of like set the bar, but there's no reason. Honestly, I feel like you're getting a super deal because you're getting a ton of stuff for that $50. But the reason we decided to price it, a little bit higher is because we want people to be serious when they come in the group.
Mhm.
We don't want to waste anybody's time, and we don't want people paying who aren't going to use the service.
Yeah.
So to us, that felt like we had a long discussion about that before we decided to launch with that price. I feel like the value is definitely there for the $50. Like, you come in with the right attitude, you're gonna make that money back like immediately. We just want people to be serious when they come, and we feel like $50 was the right amount for somebody to come in and know, like, hey, I'm spending $50. Like, I need to make sure I'm using the tools that I have.
Yes.
So we felt pretty confident with that price, and everybody that's been in the group, you can ask them what they're like, you are getting a deal. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate that from everybody. But yeah, monthly fee. However, again, code on the screen, you can start out with 50% off your first month.
And, for the sake of full transparency, obviously that is an affiliate link. I do get a little bit of a cut, but, I don't promote things unless I feel like there is value in them. And as a teacher, like I myself, my full-time gig is as a teacher. I know the importance and value of getting information from good people who know what they're doing, because there are there's a lot of YouTube channels. There's a lot of YouTube people out there who have made courses or made mentorship groups, or you can get coaching from them. And I've also heard from a lot of people who were like, I did that and it was not great. Like
Yeah.
I didn't gain anything, or they were actually giving me bad information. It's hard to figure out where to put your money when it comes to that kind of stuff. If that's how you learn best, if you need a little bit more hand holding, it's hard to know who to go to. And so, yes, this is an affiliate link, but it's also because, man, I've just been so impressed by you and like what you're doing with your business. And just, again, you were kind of stating how you and I'm so bad at names. I think it's Nikki, how you guys are
Nikki.
very similar. You're very like business oriented, laser focused on like, this is what we got to do to get the job done. I'm very much not like that. So it's inspiring to watch people whose brains function like that and be like, okay, I just need to like gain a little bit of that from this person and move forward in that direction. But I would not be promoting this or having you on my channel again if I didn't feel like this was something worth people hearing about. I know it sounds very sales pitchy, but it's because I believe in you and I believe in the impact that you can have on resellers,
Well, I super appreciate that. And just again, full transparency for anybody watching. We just launched like a couple of weeks ago our affiliate program. We picked a few select creators that we thought really aligned with our brand and just reached out to them. And every single person that we're offering the affiliate program to, we are letting them into the group to see what it's like, to make sure it aligns with their branding also, so they can see what is being offered, how it's impacting people in the group before they decide to start promoting it. So I think that's important to say is, our group gets vetted before people actually decide to promote us.
For sure. And I myself have found a lot of value, especially from the Facebook group. I think like you said, there's the 4 of you, but also there are so many people in the Facebook group who are extremely knowledgeable about the things that they're knowledgeable about. And it's been really eye-opening, like how much I don't know. Like, oh, like I would have never thought to use that as a keyword, or I don't know, just there's been a lot that I've taken away from it, even with the short amount of time that I've been part of it. So yeah, lots of value. Yes, I'm a sleazy car salesman. You can call me whatever you want in the comments. I don't really care, but it's because it's good. And I genuinely think even if I didn't get a cut, if people were to ask me, I don't know what I'm doing, where should I go? And I'd say, go to Kaylee. Like,
Appreciate that.
go to Reselling. Like if you want to take this seriously, go to Kaylee. If if it's like a fun little side hustle thing, like I'm your girl, like we'll have fun together. But like if you're trying to like level up, go to Kaylee. Like this is the person who's going to help you do that. Is there anything else you want to share with us? This has been so lovely just getting to talk with you again and just hearing you doing all the things that you're doing. But any last words?
I don't know. Thanks again for having me on. Same, like I always enjoy coming on, and I guess all I want to say is like I don't know, there's a lot of negativity in the reseller community right now, and one of the reasons that I really enjoy talking with you, Becky, is because you do keep it so positive. And you know, I really align with that as well. And if you're like, man, things have been tough in the reselling community, you're struggling, you're feeling negativity, like we're here to chat with you. And I've just seen a lot of resellers like falling off lately and getting too discouraged. So come on
Yeah.
over to the channel, come on over to Instagram, come on over to Resellers Edge if you want. Be happy to chat with you and just have those positive conversations. And hopefully they can be encouraging and uplifting.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to kind of wrap this up is just the idea of, you talk so much about aligning with people who have similar just kind of traits or just like similar thought process and
Yeah.
whatever, all those things. And while it may seem like there is a lot of negativity in the reselling community, there are people who just don't deal with that. Like I actually don't even know what you're talking about because I feel like I don't know. Like I'm also just like not in the loop very much. I feel like I don't consume that much reselling content. I've been trying to like I don't know, there's a lot going on in the world with politics and stuff too. So I think that's been
Yeah.
taking over. But yeah, just be really thoughtful of who you are surrounding yourself with, who you're allowing to speak into your mind and your heart, because that's going to have an impact on how you run your business too. And just another reason why you should be really picky about who you give your time to. And that's not my way of saying it should be me. And it's not even my way of saying that it should be. It's just be really thoughtful. Like your mind and your heart gets a little molded every time you listen to someone and allow them to speak into your life the way that YouTubers do. So just be really thoughtful of that. And that's why I hang with Kaylee. You make me feel good about my life and about, where things are headed. But also, I'm getting a lot of great information. Well, thank you so much for hanging out
Thank
with me
you.
today and being on the channel. I appreciate you so much and all the wisdom that you've shared. Make sure you head on over to her channel, subscribe over there because she does give a lot of great information for free as well. But if you want an even closer point of access to her and all that she has to offer, definitely check out Resellers Edge. That'll be down in the description. I'll have a link for that. It will be my affiliate link, but you don't have to use it if you don't want to. You could just sign up, the old fashioned way, but definitely check that out. And thank you so much. You are the best.
Yes. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.